Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there, and welcome to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and what a busy week we have this week. But before that, I want to dedicate this show to all you Leos out there. The sun just moved into Leo on Sunday, where it will be all the way through August 22nd. So this is a happy birthday show to all you Leos. And I will be giving you the rundown on everything Leo, including compatibility. Also, the really big news of the week is the Lunar Eclipse, which is happening on Friday. Now, this is the blood moon lunar eclipse. So this is really big because it involves some other planets, some heavy hitters of the zodiac. And, of course, we also have the dreaded Mercury Retrograde starting on Wednesday. So there is so much going on this week. It's just nuts. And if you are a Leo, these influences, the eclipse and the Mercury Retrograde, will be affecting you more so, or if you have any planets in Leo. And if you don't know where your planets are besides your sun sign, you can get a free chart wheel on my website, theastrologer.com, where you can follow along each week when I talk about where the planets are each week and every time. So then you will know where your planets are, because the planets are in all different signs. Like you might be a Leo, but you might have your moon and all the other planets in various signs. And also get your daily, weekly, monthly horoscope from the On Times website. So this is dedicated, this show, to all you Leos. But just keep in the back of your mind that there is a full moon lunar eclipse and a Mercury retrograde this week. But I'm going to start off with all the good stuff. So happy birthday to all you Leos, the kings and queens of the jungle. And, of course, Leo is symbolized by the lion. It is the fifth sign of the zodiac. And Leo is all about leadership and pride and warmth and courage and strength. And, you know, it does bring its own touch of drama to boot, I must say. But everything about Leo is exciting and dramatic, which, of course, would make for a very stimulating friend, family member, or even partner. Now, Leo is a fixed fire sign, and it's ruled by the sun, which means that Leo loves to be the center of attention, and then, like any good drama queen, can get pretty stubborn when it doesn't get its own way. So that's why perhaps there are so many actors that are born under this sign. That's because Leo has a bigger than life personality, and they're just made for the stage and for entertaining. Leo has definitely has a very healthy sense of their own ego, and many, not all, but many, adore being in the spotlight. So that's the overview of Leo there. But, sometimes with Leo, some signs might perceive this healthy sense of their own ego as egotism, but there are some plus sides to that. One is that Leo makes a wonderful, devoted friend. Loyalty is one of their strongest points. And, as long as Leo feels that they're getting the proper attention and respect from their loved ones, they will return the favor with grand gestures of devotion. So just remember, this sign is very, very loyal. And they do need a lot of attention. Just think of like the Leo, if you're fortunate enough to have a Leo in your life, treat them like a cat or a little kitten that needs lots of attention and lots of sunlight. Sun is their ruling planet. Now, this sign is very much about grand gestures, and Leo is a very romantic sign. And as I said before, they like drama, so they will go to great lengths if it's because they're romantic and they love drama. So if they're trying to woo the object of their desire, they won't just stop with a dozen roses. They'll fill a whole room. And anything like dinner and a movie is probably amateurish for a Leo. They will treat a date to the finest 5-star restaurant, or think of anything extravagant, is what I think of when I think of Leo wooing the object of their desire. So Leos, they make great movie stars, directors, and any sort of manager or supervisor. Now, what can us, the rest of the mere mortals, expect when the sun is in Leo through August 22nd? And again, if you don't know where your planets are, you might have a planet in Leo. So the sun moving through Leo will be affecting you as well. It'll be affecting everybody in varying degrees depending on your birth chart. So when the sun is in Leo for the next few weeks, many of us might find ourselves longing for recognition. This is a time when we want to stand out, we want to be seen, we want to be appreciated just for being our unique self. And many of us might become more aware of what makes us special during this time while the sun is in Leo. So it's important to really know what our skills and talents are, to appreciate ourselves, our unique personality, our past experience. We want other people to take notice of these things as well. And our Leo rules the heart, and it's, as I said, it's a very romantic sign. So many of us might be feeling a lot more romantic than usual. Surprising our sweetie with flowers or chocolates. And even showering ourselves with gifts. This is a great use of the energy of Leo. Because Leo, as I said, it's the king or queen of the jungle, which means this is the royal sign of the zodiac. So many of us might be expecting the royal treatment. So just be aware of that, and maybe we should be keeping that part of ourselves in check. Also, Leo is a very highly creative sign. So this is a time when creative energy is really strong. It's a good time to devote ourselves to our artistic passions and, sort of stoke our creative fires. And so it's a time where children, because Leo is also the sign of children, when we can focus on our children or really nurture our inner child and really pay attention to, what we want and need. Leo makes a really good protector of the underdog because Leo can be such a great leader when there's no ego involved. But really, this is the time to sort of nurture and take care of our inner child, be really creative, If you can do or spend time with children, that would be a really good thing, because it's time to sort of get back to the basics. And so just be careful, though, when during the next few weeks with the Sun in Leo, that, there's melodrama is not a result of, not getting the attention that we need. And just make time for play. It's interesting because, this is the time when we want to have a good time, and the inner child comes out, and, it's playtime and creativity, and it's during the summertime when many people are taking time off. So it's like, be sure to take the time to have some fun, and do something frivolous and maybe recharge your batteries during this time. So, as I said, Leo is ruled by the Sun, and so the Sun is the center of our solar system. It's the center of us. It's our inner fire. It's our vital energy. And, the Sun represents our basic core personality. And that's separate from all the other influences that drive each of us, and that's each of the planetary influences. The Sun really is the main core of every one of us. And so the Sun is the ruler of Leo, and the Sun, it tells us a lot about who we are, and not just our personality, but our strengths and challenges in life and our purpose here on Earth. And so, the Sun burns really brightly. It has a lot of strength. It sustains all life on our planet and in our solar system. So the Sun is a very important, and we know technically it's not a planet, it's actually a star, but astrologers like to call the Sun and Moon planets just to keep things simple, because astrology can get very complex very, very quickly. So most people know their sun sign, so that's important, and some characteristics of each of the signs or the sign that they were born under. So the Sun is, each of the planets, including the Sun and Moon, have a cycle. And so from our perspective here on Earth, it looks like the Sun is traveling around the Earth, but we know that the Earth and all the other planets are moving around the Sun. But just, again, to keep things simple, we classify the Sun and Moon as planets, and we say that the Sun is moving around the Earth, but we know that the Earth is moving around the Sun. So from our perspective here on Earth, yes, it looks like the Sun is moving around the Earth, but it is not. So the Sun appears to travel through the zodiac in a year, one Earth year. So that takes, it's 12 months, there's 12 signs of the zodiac. And we know that each sign doesn't fit perfectly in the calendar, say from the 1st of the month through the 31st. That's not how astrology works. It's usually the start of the sign is towards the end of each month. So the Sun is the ruler of Leo, and it's the largest feature of our solar system. And it's the brightest and hottest by far. Nothing else really compares to that. And if you are fortunate enough to have a Leo in your life, or not, you might know that, with the Sun being the ruler of Leo and being the brightest and hottest object in our solar system, some Leos might have that sort of view of themselves, because this sign is known for its ego. And it does come out if Leo doesn't feel like they've been given the proper attention, and there could be some pouting there. As I said, this is the sign of the child as well. So the Sun is a very important part of our solar system. It's the ruler of Leo, and it's what provides us daylight every day, and it really sustains life on Earth. So Leo is also a fire sign, and the other fire signs are Aries and Sagittarius. And just as fire burns bright and crackles with heat and energy, which are essential components to life, they are also potentially destructive. If you think about wildfires, how quickly they spread and can get out of control. So if you think about that energy that burns within the fire signs, there's a vitality to the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And sometimes that vitality can outshine the rest of the signs. And typically for a fire sign, everything is immediate and intense. So the fire signs always want to act fast on their impulses, and they feed off excitement and adventure. So if you think about any fire signs in your life, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, they're pretty interesting people. They lead interesting lives. And it's pretty rare to find a fire sign that doesn't live on the edge at least some of the time. Some examples, I'm thinking with adventure and spontaneity, maybe not so much with Leo because it's a fixed sign, but certainly with Aries and Sagittarius, go-kart racing, salsa dancing, backpacking through the mountains. Fire signs are always on the go. They're fast-paced, they're fun, they're adventurous, they're hot-blooded, and so that makes them very passionate. But you've got to think as well, if you think of the element of fire around Leo, and sometimes fire burns bright, but it can burn out just as fast. So to actually keep up with a Leo or a fellow fire sign, it's you've got to have that energy that just keeps going and going with the fire signs. And fire signs need people around them who keep them on their toes. So it's something always exciting with a fire sign. Now, Leo is also a fixed sign, and the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And the fixed signs, they tend to resist change unless it's for a very, very good reason. So the fixed signs can get a little nervous or irritable when there's too much change going on in their lives. And, they don't like being around people that are sort of wishy-washy, because fixed signs definitely sort of know where they're going and what's happening, and they're not very good at changing course. So they sort of have to build up to change. And they can be known as quite stubborn or conservative. But, really, fixed signs, they're very strong. They will see something through to the end. They won't abandon something midstream, no matter how good or bad it may be. So fixed signs, they really don't like to deviate from the plan, which can be good or bad, but they will definitely see things through to the end. And this is typical Leo as a fixed sign. So they have the commitment and the perseverance and the stability to get stuff done and think about things very much long term. So on that note, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Om Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going Om. My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from New Thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week, and I'm dedicating tonight's show to all you Leos out there, the king and queens of the jungle. And also this week we have a lunar eclipse, a blood moon lunar eclipse, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And can you believe this? A Mercury retrograde. What are the chances of having all these things go on this week? Well, it's a pretty big week, and we are in eclipse season. 2 weeks ago, we just had a solar eclipse, and then in 2 weeks' time, we're having another solar eclipse, which will be the final eclipse of 2018. So we're sort of right in the thick of it at the moment. July and August are really big months from an astrological point of view. There is so much going on. So at the moment, you know, this week, we've just got the lunar eclipse of Mercury retrograde and the sun moving into Leo. Just that alone is pretty big news, let alone everything else that's happening this month. So just before the break, I was talking all about Leo, the fifth sign of the zodiac. Leo is ruled by the sun. It's a fixed fire sign, and it definitely is a very loyal friend and partner. So if you're fortunate enough to have a Leo in your life, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Leos can also be very generous, very, very generous, and very supportive of, it's a word I don't really like to use, but the underdog. So Leos, they make great leaders, and they really want to help other people as well. They can be very generous. So moving right along, I'm going to be talking about Leo compatibility. So I'm getting to the good stuff. So I'm going to talk about Leo compatibility with each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. So the first sign of the zodiac is Aries. So what happens when you get put Leo and Aries together? Well, both fire signs. So the golden rule of compatibility is elemental. So if signs are of the same element, such as Leo, Aries, both fire signs, this is a great match. Then you also have fire and air get on, and then earth and water signs typically. So with Aries and Leo, where there's heat, there's fire. And these two signs just burn it up. You know, instant attraction, hot, hot, hot. But there could be some potential areas, and that's namely a struggle over who's the boss. Aries tends to have a me-first attitude, and so they might forget at times to stroke their Leo's ego, which then might cause big problems. So if Aries can remember to do that from time to time, things might be smooth sailing, but there's always going to be action and adventure with these two signs. But Leo does like to rule the roost, and can be extremely sensitive when they feel ignored or underappreciated. So just keep that in mind, Aries. Next up, we have Leo and Taurus. Well, two fixed signs. So anytime that we've got signs of the same modality or quality, there could be some issues. So Leo, Taurus, both fixed signs. But they do have plenty of common ground, and that is they can both be incredibly stubborn. But the differences will create friction, especially if they're both being really stubborn. But family is important to each of these signs, Leo and Taurus. And so that can be a strong foundation for any sort of relationship. But, you know, there could be some clashing around too much for a comfortable long-term connection. But these signs are both sensual, Leo's dramatic, and, you know, if there's a commitment there, then this will work out. And, of course, with any sort of compatibility in astrology, the sun sign is a great place to start, but it's not the be-all, end-all. It's definitely a good place to start, but there is so much more to consider with astrological compatibility way beyond a sun sign. You know, we take all the planets in all the signs and see how they connect and so on. Next up, we've got Leo and Gemini. These two signs make a really great match. Gemini is an air sign. Leo is a fire sign. And, you know, sometimes Leo can be one of the few signs that will tolerate Gemini's sort of maverick nature. So, you know, sometimes I think Leo might be attracted to these sort of qualities, you know, the tricky, maverick, two-sided nature of Gemini. So this sort of, Leo can sort of understand and tolerate this. A lot of other signs cannot. You know, and Leo can be very grounding on changeable Gemini. You know, and Gemini in turn can provide the thrills that Leo does sometimes crave. But you will impress each other with your wit and energy, but Leo may be more interested in a long-term commitment. So that's Leo and Gemini, two signs apart. Fire and air get along very well. Next up, we've got Leo and Cancer. And, you know, Cancer's a water sign, Leo's a fire sign. And, you know, at first glance, you don't seem to be a great combination. You know, that's that fire, water, you know, Cancer, the water sign, which can sometimes dampen Leo's fiery spirits. And then sometimes Leo might make the crab draw back into its shell. But, you know, when you go beyond the superficial and you look a little deeper, you actually have quite a few values in common that might make this connection work. So Leo and Cancer are both highly romantic, sentimental, family-oriented, which, of course, is a wonderful foundation for a relationship. And, you know, you've got Leo, which is ruled by the sun, and Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So moon is mother and sun is father at times, you know, when doing a reading. So there's this really great fundamental connection between you just based off that. Next up, we've got Leo and Leo. This is a very interesting combination, which I've seen a few times over the years. And once you work out who's in charge, you might have to share that responsibility. It actually works out quite well, but sometimes it can get very tangled. So, you know, without a doubt, there will be a fight for who's in charge because you both need to be in the spotlight, surrounded by your adoring fans. So in order to work it out, you'll either have to take turns or agree to rule separate domains because there can never be two leaders of a pack. So expect plenty of drama with Leo and Leo, but plenty of the good things in life as well. You typically both like socializing and want to live the high life. And, of course, both place family as a high priority. So that's Leo and Leo. And then next up we've got Leo and Virgo. And, you know, Virgo's an earth sign, Leo's a fire sign. So at first you don't seem like the best match. But Leo, of course, loves to be in the spotlight. And Virgo is most comfortable in a supportive role. So with that in mind, this would make a great combination. If Virgo's happy to be in that supportive role and Leo's happy to be in the spotlight calling the shots, you have a match made in heaven. So it will work out very well if you can settle your differences. So, you know, together actually, you know, Leo and Virgo make a good system of checks and balances because Leo can tend toward extravagance while Virgo, you know, is would make a great accountant and can sort of help temper Leo's splashier urges. But once you've established your roles, this combination will work out very well. And also the other rule is signs next to each other in the zodiac understand each other and also could possibly share some inner planets together because, Mercury and Venus are never far away from the sun. Next up, we've got Leo and Libra. Libra is an air sign. Leo being the fire sign, and fire and air typically get on. So Leo and Libra have a great connection, which is enhanced by lots of social activity and, of course, only the finest things in life for these two. Libra might like Leo's big spending ways, and, of course, both signs really like romance. And Leo could make Libra feel like royalty because, Leo is the royal sign of the zodiac. But if Leo does make you feel really good, Libra, you've got to remember to return the favor. If you want to keep your lion feeling loved and cherished, this is the crucial element to any good Leo. They need to feel adored. But, sometimes Leo can be a little bit brash at times for Libra's refined tastes. And sometimes the lion's pride might be dented. So it's a good thing that Libra is so tactful. So there's a really good connection between Leo and Libra. Now, next up, we have Leo and Scorpio. Both are fixed signs. Scorpio's a water sign, Leo's a fire sign. But there could be a lot of friction here, unless, of course, there are other planets in common signs or compatible signs. So what you do have in common, Leo and Scorpio, is your stubbornness and your twin desires for control. But, as I said, if there are other planetary influences at work, then it will work really well because you'll just get each other. So just be careful, both signs, about being too possessive, and then the willful natures will definitely come to the fore. And, Leo, I really hate to tell you this, and this might offend many Leos, but Scorpio will always have the last word. And I have said this before, and Leo does not like that, but it is what it is. Next up, we have Leo and Sagittarius. Great match, really good match. Both are fire signs. You make a great team. You're both optimistic and impulsive, and you'll egg each other on to new heights. Always on the go, always on to the next big adventure. You're both curious, especially Sagittarius, and you both have fiery temperaments, which could cause some issues because Sagittarius does like to tell the truth. Sagittarius is the truth seeker of the zodiac, and sometimes prideful Leo doesn't want to hear the truth. But anyway, overall, you make a great match. Two fire signs together. Plenty of adventure, excitement, activity. Next up, we've got Leo and Capricorn. This is an interesting combination because you two share a karmic tie. And you may feel that in the way you're drawn to each other in the very beginning. And, there's not a whole lot in common because Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign and Leo is a fixed fire sign. But there are some similarities. You're both very ambitious. And so this would be the commonality between Leo and Capricorn. So it's good to discuss dreams and goals. You both would also like living in the lap of luxury. And both Leo and Capricorn are known to be the leaders of the zodiac. Yes, there are some other leaders too, but I'm just talking about Leo and Capricorn. So overall, there's definitely a karmic tie between these two signs. And if there are other planetary connections, then overall it is a good match. Leo and Aquarius. Well, this is definitely a case of opposites attract because you two are so different. Aquarius and Leo are both fixed signs. Aquarius is an air sign. Leo is a fire sign. But the thing here is they're opposite in the zodiac. And the golden rule of opposite signs for compatibility is very much about opposites attract, but when it's good, it's great, and when it's not so good, it's not so great. So, Leo is a fun-loving, attention-seeking sign, whereas Aquarius is more cool and aloof. Its symbol is the water bearer, and it really does not care about being the center of attention. It's just like a seesaw. So the connection is either great or not great. And so the seesaw is constantly in motion, and it's up to these two signs to find the balance. But, I see that you would have fun together because Aquarius is just so unusual and so interesting. So there's always plenty there that's going on between these two signs. And, of course, Aquarius knows everyone in town, so that suits Leo, who needs to be the center of attention. That suits Leo down to the ground. And then finally, we've got Leo and Pisces. Pisces is a mutable water sign, and, of course, Leo is a fixed fire sign. So Pisces will adore the lion for its strength and courage, and Leo will provide the protection and direction Pisces may sometimes need. But the commonality here between Leo and Pisces is that you both possess big dreams. But Leo's more likely to go after them. But you're both really sensitive in different ways, but ultimately sometimes the same way. So Leo and Pisces are very, very sensitive signs. And again, Leo might not want to hear this, but they don't like having their feelings hurt because they're the big beast of the jungle, like they're not meant to be sensitive. They're meant to be like the fearless leader. But they can be very sensitive. But, at least Pisces is very intuitive about such things and can take care of Leo's wounded ego during the tougher moments. So there you have it, the Leo compatibility for tonight's show, which is dedicated to all you lions out there. So the big news of the week is the lunar eclipse, the blood moon in Aquarius. So this is really big news. And I just want to address this straight up. What does it mean by blood moon? It means that we're having a total lunar eclipse. So total lunar eclipses are referred to as blood moons. And the reason being is because the moon will be at its furthest point from the Earth, so it will be quite small, and then it will look like it's all orange, and that's where it gets its name from. So on that note, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned. So I'm going to talk more about the lunar eclipse.
The Real Conscious Connection. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week. This show is dedicated to all you Leos out there. The sun moved into Leo on Sunday, where it will be for the next few weeks. The big news of the week is the lunar eclipse blood moon, which is happening in Aquarius, which is nearly at 5 degrees, and that's for the fixed signs. I'm talking to you, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And if you were born in April, if you're a Taurus, hang on, let me say that again. Mercury Retrograde is catching up to me already. If you're a Taurus born in April, if you're a Leo born in July, if you're a Scorpio born in October, or an Aquarian born in January, I'm talking to you in particular, or if you have any planets in your natal chart at around 5 degrees, this lunar eclipse blood moon in Aquarius is going to be affecting you in a big way. Now, this lunar eclipse is also conjuncting Mars retrograde, and it's forming a square to Uranus. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine really how all of this is going to play out. I mean, I'm seeing it in the news and I'm seeing what's going on. But what's going to come about with this? And this is like a lunar eclipse that's sitting in the middle of 2 solar eclipses. So, eclipses can come in pairs or threes. So this time there's 3 eclipses. So this will be the second eclipse of this season. Now, the previous lunar eclipse was in January on the 31st, and it was in Leo. So again, Leo, Aquarius, the fixed signs are really being affected by these eclipses. And, it also revives the Leo Aquarius theme, which is, the conflict between self-expression and the collective. But this time there's going to be more emphasis on the collective and what's good for all humanity. And because the moon is in Aquarius, there's a detached, progressive, sort of contrarian, future and technology-minded flavor around this Aquarius lunar eclipse. So it's sort of maybe in some ways with all this Leo drama going on the other side, it might be good to sort of help us detach from our own personal dramas and really sort of join together and look at the world from the collective point of view. And maybe with this lunar eclipse in Aquarius, it's reminding us that we're all just one of 7 billion people here on Earth. And we are our brother's keepers. No one is an island. And so the Aquarius moon has a deep fear of all human categories since they're social constructs. So Aquarius is about breaking barriers and tipping sacred cows. And, the Aquarius lunar eclipse might arouse a gut instinct to rebel from tradition and to seek progressive and alternative and technological answers to humanity's problems. So a blood moon in Aquarius is all about finding new ways and new solutions and sort of pushing back in some ways against the conservative or what's gone before us. And, of course, this Aquarius lunar eclipse is not without drama because, the other side of it is the sun in Leo, moon in Aquarius. So it's a supercharged full moon. But we've got Mars retrograde, the involvement of Mars retrograde with this lunar eclipse. And, of course, there's a square. It's making a square to Uranus. So it's sort of like anything goes at this time. So when you put Mars and Mars retrograde and the moon together, they make an, emotionally explosive, raw, immature sort of pairing. And so the Mars retrograde conjunct the lunar eclipse creates an intense urgency. this influence could rouse more infighting over ideals and philosophies, with the fighters thinking that the ends justifies the means, because they're getting what they want and what they think is best. But because Mars is retrograde, it's not going to be done directly. It's more in a roundabout or hidden sort of way. With this eclipse, it's also squaring Uranus. Uranus on May 15th moved into Taurus, which is another fixed sign. So with the eclipse forming a square to Uranus, it might mean that matters of the heart and emotions and gut reactions could be subject to spontaneous and even explosive changes, particularly when it comes to our values and our possessions. Now, Uranus is currently in Taurus, so this is going to be changing our attitudes about what we value and what we think represents traditional values, if anything at all, because Uranus in Taurus is very much about conservative or traditional, and then the Aquarian eclipse, lunar eclipse with Mars, is about the future, or anything that's futuristic. So there's a tension, excuse me, there's a tension with this supercharged full moon. So it's going to be about finding the balance, which doesn't value traditions over human beings, and which might only really find value in what serves a progressive purpose. Hold on a second. Oh, my voice as I'm saying this, I'm losing my voice, and I think this is the Mercury retrograde, which I'm not up to talking about yet, but I feel like I'm being pushed into talking about this Mercury retrograde, which will be affecting all of us, and it doesn't tie directly in to the lunar eclipse, but it is in Leo, which is yet another fixed energy. So this lunar eclipse is all about fixed energies, finding a compromise, finding the balance between traditional, the future, and how we can all sort of link arms and really think about the greater good of everybody, not just individual self-serving purposes. And perhaps, with the square to Uranus, maybe everything must be destroyed or tossed aside. But really the key here is whose values are the best for all humanity. And really the lunar eclipse is never objective, even when it is in Aquarius. So this is a global lunar eclipse in serious times, because it reminds people that even our needs and fears can be the inspiration for manifesting universal good, because Aquarius is the equalizer. And the Aquarius lunar eclipse rouses the desire to share knowledge with others and to incorporate all people in a struggle against regression and repression. So this lunar eclipse is a call to let the mind rather than the heart do the thinking. How about that? Making decisions based off logic rather than emotions. And so with this Mars retrograde, because the lunar eclipse, the moon is coming together with Mars retrograde, and it will be opposing the sun in Leo. So the Mars retrograde hinders direct action. It's like a boiling pot with a lid on it. It causes frustration, self-doubt, people turning their energy and their anger inward at themselves, at those closest to them. So this is a very stifled energy of Mars when it's retrograde, and it intensifies because it'll be forming a conjunction to the intense Aquarius lunar eclipse blood moon on Friday. So this energy restricts reactions, emotions, and instinct. There's no direct action, but no direct expression of feelings either. It's a very hard energy, especially for the moon, because the moon is very much about emotions and feelings and nurturing and It's a soft energy, whereas Mars, the mythology of Mars is the god of war. Excuse me, the god of war. So you've got two very different energies coming together. And so then on the other end, you've got the Sun in Leo forming this opposition to Mars in Aquarius, which is retrograde. So it's sort of like facing obstacles and maybe blame flying around, people a little too ready to jump into the fray instead of taking a more maybe philosophical approach. Or let's say communication will be key, even though Mercury will be retrograde, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So just be prepared for some sort of confrontations with people digging their heels in, thinking their opinions are right and the only way. There could be arguments or aggressive behaviour, but just remember Mars will be retrograde, so there could be a lot of energy, people going inward or imploding. Also, there's hypersensitivity with a lot of Leo energy this week. So it's important that, if you think about it, like sheer emotion meets raw passion. So there could be some fireworks. So it's important to sort of take a step back, take 3 deep breaths before responding in a way where we might not be able to take it back. Some of us might be feeling irritable or strangely emotional without even knowing why. So it's interesting, and of course with the square to Uranus by the Sun and the Moon, which is basically forming something called a T-square. So it's a very hard configuration. People might be reacting in ways that are quite unpredictable. There's going to be disruption, defiance, maybe indiscretion. We should not let impatience get the better of us with this energy. That's really the key here. Or wanting to jump into something too quickly without sort of reviewing it or thinking through what the consequences may be. Now I'm going to get on to Mercury retrograde. There's so much to say, so much going on this week. So on Wednesday we've got Mercury turning retrograde yet once again. That's July 25th through August 18th. So it moves from 23 degrees Leo all the way back to 11 degrees. So this is news for the fixed signs. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius will be more affected. And so the retrograde Mercury in Leo, it'll trigger passionate displays of expression that are sure to cause reactions from ourselves and from others. And if you couple this with the lunar eclipse energy I just talked about, oh dear. This is a very important time where compromise will be key, and listening to what someone else has to say will be really important, and not jumping straight into something. It's like take a step back, take a few deep breaths, walk away if possible, just to give yourself time to think through a situation. So with Mercury retrograde in Leo, this might inspire more emotion behind words and thoughts, and there could be a lot of passionate responses, and put that together with what I just said about the eclipse. So it's, we may or may not want to engage ourselves in the thick of things, depending on our personality and mood, of course. And many of us might be apt to say what we feel without a great deal of discretion. So, again, our will is strong because Mercury in Leo, this is a fixed energy. And we might not want to be silenced, especially with that blood moon energy as well. This is not about a time for silencing, but it's actually a time for thinking about what works for all of us. And many of us might be a little bit more aggressive with this Mercury retrograde in Leo. People might be pushing their own agendas, but force of will and manner of delivery may meet with some resistance from equally charged individuals with their own agenda. So we all really need to be aware of that. And maybe our powers of persuasion may fail to have the desired effect that typically we might get. So instead of forging ahead during this Mercury retrograde with new proposals or engaging in a shouting match perhaps, we need to think about how our time could be more effectively utilized through creative channels. Because remember, one of the key words for Leo, and this is Mercury retrograde in Leo, is all about creativity. So something that we've done from the past. Because typically Mercury retrograde is reviewing or redoing something from the past. So during this Mercury retrograde in Leo, we might be internalizing our passions, and it would be good to release it through artistic mediums, anything like painting or writing or music. So revisit an old creation that could use more time and attention than what we had previously thought. And also be very careful during this Mercury retrograde with your spending habits, because Leo can be quite flashy sometimes. Leo is known to be a big spender, so this is not a time for doing such things or making a major purchase during this Mercury retrograde. Typical, but especially this Mercury retrograde while it is in Leo. If I have time, I might just whiz through really quick the other aspects, minor aspects for this week. That Mercury, while it's retrograde on August 10th, right before the solar eclipse, Mercury will be forming a square to Jupiter in Scorpio. So this is be very careful around this time, and I will address it in the show that week, that particular aspect. But this is all about overspending and overinflation. Okay, we're out of time because there was just so much to say this week. So I wish you a good week, everyone out there. Remember the Mercury retrograde and the blood moon lunar eclipse. So have a great week and be sure to tune in next week.